Okay, well, here we are. Okay. Hey there, community. This is Leisure Town Live, live with the Leisure Town HOA candidates tonight for a live listening session. I want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you to the community members who have submitted questions and comments and thoughts and ideas, and those who were able to join us via Zoom tonight. So tonight's format is going to be pretty quick, within an hour. We're going to have comments and thoughts from different community members who have joined us this evening. And it's not a Q&A format, it's a listening session. So the whole goal and intent was to give the community a voice and a chance to speak their mind and have the candidates be able to listen, absorb, and learn, and hopefully be able to respond in a number of different ways after the event. My name is Paula Jansen. I'm with Leisure Town Life, and I am your host this evening and moderator. A few things to keep in mind: that the questions that are being submitted and comments that have been submitted are not directed to any particular candidate. It's really just about the community. And so hot topics, common issues happening in the community, ideas, suggestions for committees, clubs, events, it's pretty much anything goes. And this is the first of two that we have scheduled. Our next one is scheduled for the 27th. And we hope that more of you can join us during that time. For those of you who are viewing us on Facebook Live, you won't be able to comment live, but we would encourage you, if you have any thoughts or ideas, to put them in the chat box under the Facebook event. We do see those, and we will respond to those or forward them to the appropriate candidate for answering. Again, it's going to be very quick, and we'll go from there. Just a couple quick things before we start. This is a busy week with election events. We do have the candidates night at the town hall on Thursday at 6 o'clock, and all 7 candidates will be there for you to hear their answers, get to know them a little bit more, and just really engage a little bit more in a live environment. So I encourage all of you to go. And it's worth noting that there are 7 candidates in total. There are 3 incumbents and 4 new candidates, and that Leisure Town Life had extended an invitation to participate in these events to all candidates. And so, being that it's voluntary, those who chose to participate are here tonight, and the rest of them, you will see everybody together in a very exciting candidates night on Thursday night. So I encourage you to make note of that and attend while you can. So on that note, we're going to start. I'd like to turn this over to the different candidates and have you each introduce yourself and give a quick minute or so on who you are, why you're running, and we'll move on. So why don't we start with you, Bev Long? You're muted. There you go.
Okay. Well, good evening. I'm Beverly Long, and I've lived in the Leisure Town community for about 4 years, and I had decided to run. I attended a lot of the meetings that were being held and a lot of the issues that were brought up, and I felt that we needed a fresh perspective. So, and to be able to listen to the community members and try to find answers and resolve problems. So after speaking up at some of the meetings, I had a number of people ask me, why don't you go ahead and run for the board? So I decided to do that. So I'm hoping that if elected, you will contact me, or before the election, if you have questions, please contact me, and you can visit my webpage, which is under the Leisure Town Life group. So I look forward to talking with you and meeting you at Candidates Night. So thanks again for this opportunity and look forward to working together.
Thank you, Bev. Kathy?
Good evening. Hi, my name is Kathy Marchessault, and I've been a Leisure Town resident for about 8 years now. And I had dropped off flyers today. I had a number of people help me, including my husband and some friends. So you may have my flyer in hand already or on your doorstep or in your door. Before I get into why I wanted to run for the board, I wanted to say one thing real quick. I will not be at Candidates Night on the 14th. Unfortunately, I have a wedding that has been planned. I'm going to attend, and it's been in the plans for many, many months now. So I regrettably will not be able to be there with my other candidates to answer your questions live in person on the 14th. So I just wanted to say that to you. And I did put that information out on the different web pages so members would know. The reason I decided to run for the board was I had attended a number of meetings. I felt, as Bev did, we could use some new faces, a new perspective. I am all about empowering the voices of our membership to be heard. I would like to foster approachability. I hope to be an approachable board member if I am elected, and I am very interested in what our membership and our members have to say, and I would take every comment, every question to heart and do my best to answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know anything, I would do some serious research and get back with you on your question, on your concern. So those were the reasons why I decided to run, because I think sometimes our members aren't heard, or they ask questions or voice a concern and they don't get any feedback. And our board needs to, we're there for our members. Our members are our community. You're our little family, and you are important. So if I'm elected, I hope to serve you well. And please feel free to reach out to me on one of my web pages. On my flyer, there's an email address. You feel free to email me or go to my link and pose a question that way, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Even though I'll be away for a bit of time, I will be monitoring my page and monitoring my email as well. And thank you for being here, and I hope to get to know you better in the events that are planned in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Eva?
Hi, my name is Eva Lucas. I have owned a home in the community since 2017 that is rented out. I have been involved in the community for many, many years. My grandma lives here. My parents used to live here. I'm very connected with the community. I am running for the board. I'm looking to apply my knowledge of homeowners associations and see some change. I think that, we all need change, and I think that I can be part of that change. I think I'm a little bit of, a little bit of diversity on the board would be great. I think that's it. I look forward to getting to know people. I have recently sent out my flyers as well. So if you have any questions for me, my contact information is on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Ken?
Good evening. I'm Ken Stockton. I've lived at 193 Isle Royal Circle for 16 years with my wife, Karen, and a few puppy dogs we've had. A lot of the four of our thoughts are the same. maybe some of our plans to go about repairs of some of the situations are a little bit different. Where Kathy, Bev, and Eva bring a new perspective, which I think is very important. We have three very intelligent ladies, and they're all worthy to serve. I would not be upset if any of the three of them got elected over me, but I do have experience. I do know how our system has operated in the past. I do know that there was a time where we were far more transparent than we are right now. We put out far more reports to the members. We allowed the members to speak more often in meetings. And I think, like Eva said something about diversity. There's diversity in experience. There's diversity in many different aspects of life. And I think the assets I would bring is not only the experience. I really care when I do something. I don't go in halfway. I go in all the way. And I will admit that at times I've offended people with that, but many other times I've defended people with it. I've done projects here in Leisure Town already, including saving our bus service with Joan McLean about 6 years ago that was going to be stopped, and the adding of street signs on Yellowstone and many other projects. And I'm willing and able and ready to serve again. And I plan, just so it's clear, I plan to work with every member of that board. I don't plan to have any animosity towards anybody. I plan on getting along and working together in compromises. It's not a one-person job. It's a 5-person job with 1,148 other people at a minimum to have input. So I would appreciate your vote. I think if you vote me in, I will do a job that most people will be happy about. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you to all the candidates for the introduction. So now we're going to move to our community members who have been kind enough to take the time to show up and to speak up tonight. So we appreciate that. I'm going to start with Diane and Ernie. Why don't you introduce yourselves just a little bit? What is your history in the community? And then I will let you just speak and comment and proceed as you wish.
Okay, so Ernie and I have been in the community for 15 years now, and I have a lot of conversations with different members and of our community, and these questions that I have are, as she said, not directed at one person, but these are conversations that I've just had, maybe one-on-one or one-on-three, or and so the words are out there. And so I just like to have you think about these things, because they are going to be things that you'll have to address should you be elected. And one of them is that I am a volunteer at the gym. And I swim in the pools often. And we have a lot of conversations in those pools. And since the pandemic, there's been a new procedure that no children are allowed in the pools. And in conversations with a lot of the different people who use those pools, they're very happy about that. They're happy about that because they can use the pools. They don't have to say, okay, from this time to this time, we can't use the pools. We're just not going to show up. They don't like getting jumped on. They don't like yelling that goes around there. It's disruptive for them. They come down the pools to relax. And when there's children jumping around, it is interrupting to them. Okay. So I know that we all have family, and that we would like to have our grandkids to be able to use those pools. And it just seems really, difficult to have a grandchild but by the way, mine's 18, so this doesn't count. But, you know, to have a grandchild look at those pools and want to be in those pools and not get to use them. So what my question is how will you handle this, knowing that the majority of the people that use the pools are residents, the majority do not want children to be in there, and you have a personal need that we want our grandchildren to be in there. How are you going to handle that situation? Because it is controversial, and so that's the one question. Okay, I have a couple questions. Do you want me to just ask one question, or do you want me to ask my questions?
No, just keep going.
Okay.
You have plenty of time, Diane, so.
Okay. Another question I have is that the discussion I've had is we have a lot of our residents that have been here for many years. And the prices and fees are going up, but retirement income has not kept the pace. How will you manage to keep long-term residents from being priced out of their homes and yet have to keep the HOA viable? Because prices for everything is going up and things are changing. But people who have been here a long time are on a retirement income, and it's not keeping pace. So at some point, the stress is going to be, and choices are going to be hard for those elderly people. Okay, that's another question I have. The other question I have is we have these beautiful green strips. I love those green strips, and yet I know that they cost a tremendous amount compared to our budget. And I don't know how we're going to, at some point, it's going to be a choice between beauty and money. And I just want to know how you're going to handle that difference as well. How are we going to keep the green strips? How are we going to keep this place a beautiful place that people want to come and live and desirable? And again, we're having to make choices here between money and the beauty of our homes. The other question I have is, should one of you only be elected out of our group of people here, our group of candidates? Should only one of you be elected? How are you going to handle that board, or educate that board, or communicate with that board without just giving in because you're not the majority? I just would like to hear how you're going to make a difference in that area. It's a difficult situation. All of these are difficult situations, actually. The other one that I don't have, and the one thing that got me involved with this whole thing in the first place, was that the RV site down there is still not resolved. That situation is not resolved, and just want to know how you would support keeping the RV situation the way it is. And I know, and I'm not talking about particularly about the money, you know, a small raise here, but that we don't have, we have a voice now, and soon we will not have a voice if the bylaws are passed as they are. So I just want to know how you might address that situation. Those are my questions. Do you have any?
Ernie?
No, those actually belong to both of us, so that's all we have.
Oh, thank you so much. Those were excellent questions, and I think we're going to have time to open that up for some feedback from the candidates once we're finished with all the comments. So I appreciate that. Wendy Roberts, would you like to introduce yourself and then start your questions, please?
I will. Okay, I'm Wendy Roberts, and I've lived here, I can't believe it, but it's been 18 years. And we first moved on to Carlsbad Circle. And then when Hampton Park was being built, we rented our home out on Carlsbad and came to Town Center Way in Hampton Park. So it's been a while. I have concerns, and I've kind of stuck to one subject because it's a huge one. And my biggest concern for the future of Leisure Town is the water usage and more drought years. We have so much land. We seem to be having emergency repairs to irrigation in the thousands of dollars each month, at least the last couple of months, as breakages occur in our outdated systems. And I don't know if you can qualify them as really emergency. We don't seem to know about them until after the fact. And so $5,000, I believe, was 1 month and $7,000 the next. That's a lot of money. And so that concerns me a lot. I believe we need to collaborate on a long-term plan for future landscaping as soon as possible, possibly getting advice from experts. If we have a plan, it will be easier to carry out our decisions going forward. Also, I would like to suggest looking into grants for HOAs to help with the costs. I know grants are, they're difficult to get. And I've heard that you have to word your needs just right to get these grants, but they are available to some homeowners associations that would have to be really delved into. So I think our next board needs to make some long-term decisions, whether to keep grass green in all areas or let some of it go in order to save money. For instance, the pool area and the bocce ball area. I see really no reason to have grass in those areas. Why have a lawnmower have to come in and mow grass in the pool area when the clippings go in the pool or wherever? Surely there can be some fairly low cost solution to that where we wouldn't have to be turning water on in that area. And the same as the bocce ball, there's a strip of grass that really has no purpose in there. It's a very small strip, but the sprinklers still go on. And also right outside that area, small things are going to make a difference over time. So green strips, I know Diane, you mentioned this. They were intended originally in 1964 as recreational areas to be enjoyed by families. And now they seem to be the cause of the huge problems with water usage. Our lifestyles have changed so much since the community was built. I should add that there's signs that says no trespassing, which is not a very member-friendly use of the green strips. I don't believe really anybody uses them. I did walk up and down them a couple of times in the morning when I was doing my walk. They're very uneven. And you get the strangest looks from people if you use the green strips. So there's just something to, think about with that. The green strips are easements. We have to remember that for utility and emergency vehicles. So we must allow occasional traffic to drive on them. It makes sense to me to consider some hardscape down the middle of each strip. We should look into some funding methods, including grants and possibly reaching out to the utility companies that need the access. This morning, I counted 15 green strips. It's going to be a monumental task over many years. And that's just food for thought. That's all I have right now.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
So what I'd like to do right now is, these are all great points, and my takeaway on this is just looking at some key words that have come out, and key phrases, key points. I'm hearing long-term, I'm hearing future decisions, I'm hearing future impending financial increases, preparing for the future. So all of this kind of falls in line with a lot of the narrative and the mission of some of these candidates is to really help prepare Leisure Town for the future. You know, why wait until something is broken to fix it when you already know that in 2 years it's going to need to be addressed? So start making that transition now. So I think this is a great opportunity for the candidates to you know, spend some time. We have about a half an hour left, and address, you know, topic by topic. I'd like to start with the green strips and Wendy's comments that she's made about water usage, because that dovetails a little bit into what Diane had commented on. And let's open that up for about 10 minutes between the candidates to make some comments. I'll let you start. Go ahead, Ken.
My mouse kind of shuts off after a minute if I don't use it. So green strips. Wendy, there's actually more than 15. People always look at the circles as the only green strips. There is a very small green strip on Yellowstone on the golf course side. I can show you all of them. I got a map that I put on social media before. There's a very large green strip right behind Paula's house. It's shaped like a triangle. It's a large one. There's a small one across the street from the rotunda. There's quite a few, although the circle green strips are by far the largest. So the no trespassing signs have been mentioned often because they're not understood clearly by all of us, and there's a good reason why. We were all raised to understand that no trespassing means no trespassing. Now, why couldn't it say members only? Something like that. There's better wording that could be used. We used the green strip. We had a wedding 2.5 years ago in our backyard. We got permission from the HOA. Me and Karen signed a waiver for damage. We opened the gate. We put our awning halfway over the fence. We used the green strip a little bit, not a lot. Before that, when we first moved in, we had a volleyball court out there again with permission. So yeah, the water usage is the easy fix, but the not so easy fix is to do the zeroscape or whatever it's called. But here's the deal. Right now, our reserve funding is very bad. So how are you going to pay for it? You know, we repiped one green strip many years ago and it cost $18,000 then to change the piping out. But to change those green strips, that is a lot of square footage of sod, bad sod, terrible sod, but there's a lot there. And so it's going to take a board that is not fearful of making a decision that's not popular with everybody. Because if you say you're going to do something with the green strips, you're going to make as many people mad, probably more people mad than you're going to make happy, because it's going to hit them more than likely in the pocketbook and in our backyards. The reason, when do we look at people funny here, is because I feel like that's my backyard to an extent. So if there's somebody walking back there I don't know, I ask them right away, what are you doing here? I've seen people walk back there with a drill in their hands. We've had people that get arrested that we've seen back there. It's a big deal, but I think that we have 4 people here that are not fearful to make the decision that boards in the past, including the one that I was on, danced around. But keep in mind, the rates were raised either right when I was leaving the board or right after I left it. And they were raised by at least 4 times the water rates I'm speaking of. So before that, the green strips, they were an eyesore more or less, but they didn't impact us as much as they do now because the costs weren't near as astronomical as they are now. So I'll leave room for some others.
Anyone else want to comment? Go ahead, Bev.
Well, one of the ideas that I came up with that probably would not be acceptable to the developer, but one of the things that I talked to my son, who's a civil engineer, about, and it would be very costly, but since they're planning all this new development with new housing and parks and detention basins, and they're going to have to provide water to these new communities. So one of the things that I thought about is possibly working with the developers and over an extended period of time, figuring out how we could reuse water and use non-potable water on the green strips, which would decrease the amount of water that we're having to purchase. The costly portion of that is with non-potable water, you have to use specific piping, which is like, I think it's purple, or it's a different colored piping anyway. So since the developers are wanting to do all of this new housing and commercial building, perhaps we could work with them and work out some kind of a deal where it's mutually beneficial and get them to, let's say, over a 20-year period, gradually replace the piping on the green strips, and during the wastewater treatment portion of it, reuse that water for irrigation versus purchasing new water. And it was just a thought, and I don't know if it would be very well accepted, or if we're at a point in our time with the developers that it's too late to suggest something like that, but just a thought, an idea.
I think that's an excellent idea, Bev.
Thanks.
So can I jump in here now? Is that okay? The purple pipe has been touched upon before, and that is a good idea. However, my thoughts with that is we still have to maintain the landscaping in those areas. The green strips, the common areas, you still have to get the landscapers to cut, and they can hit sprinklers, you know, they try, but you know how that is with landscapers. They bump something and knock something off, or something breaks, and we have to address that. And I know it seems to be mind-boggling how we could even begin to start doing dryscaping. And my husband and I have had a little experience with that, because we did it in 2 of our rental properties. And you probably heard me talk about this at the last meeting. And my husband dug out our front yards and by hand, and that was a chore. That was just the front yard, not big areas, but that was a ginormous task for 2 front yards. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how could we even start on the green strips to start with dryscape? But we have to start somewhere. whether it means letting the grass die, which I know that's not an appealing thing. I know I don't live with my backyard up to a green strip, and that would be hard for me to see. But our water situation in California is dire. And we do have a lot of common areas that need attention and need water. And we don't even have a purple pipe, so we can't use non-potable water yet. We don't know when that might happen. So we're using regular water on a regular basis daily on all of our common areas, all of the green strips, and it's a huge amount of money. It's huge. So I think we need to think about doing the dryscape, and dryscape can be very attractive. It doesn't have to be ugly, and just doing little pieces at a time. And Wendy, you had mentioned there's grass in the pool area, and why do we need grass in the pool area? Maybe we can take that grass out and put in some artificial turf so we have the green, a green look. And a small artificial turf is expensive, but a small area wouldn't be too bad, and you'd have that green look. Or near the bocce court, still have that green look that a lot of people like. You could put in partial artificial turf and partial rock or drought tolerant plants. But I think we have to start we have to start thinking in that direction. I just think it's critical. I know it seems hard to even wrap our heads around where to even start, but we have to start somewhere. Thank you.
Eva, would you like to comment on that? You
Yeah.
manage a number of communities, so you may have some experience with this firsthand.
Well, I think I agree with Kathy. I think that we need to start transitioning, but I think that we need to come up with a long-term goal in saving determining what areas, how much it's going to cost. I think that this is a budgeting conversation as well, so we can figure out how to do this over, a longer time span, so we can ensure that our dues don't go up very high and we can get these done. I just think that we're spending the money anyway. We're spending the money on water. So if we figure out the difference in the water savings and what we can do with that extra money in decreasing that amount that we're putting towards our operating expenses, we can put that into our reserve to get some of those items done. And since we have such a big community, it's a lot easier to get those items done because we have so many people paying towards their dues. I have other associations where there's only 6 units and their dues are $550 a month, but it's only because of the numbers of units. So we should take advantage of that. I think it's just long-term figuring out costs and what we can do. I think also important is getting other people involved. I think that our community has a lot of great and knowledgeable homeowners here, and just getting ideas from people. I know that people have walked like Ken, seen people in the backyard, and those new plants and rocks that they installed, they actually look horrible. They're spraying the weed killer around those rocks, and so there's this round yellow, dead area. And I know Ken, and I'm sure others, get out in their backyard and look at those and think, you know what, that looks bad, but maybe this is a great idea. So I think getting other people involved and asking those questions and being open to listen to all these strange ideas that we're all going to come up with, but I think together we can all come up with something really great and save money, be able to get those done, and over probably a 5-7 year time span.
Thank you, Eva. I think that's.
Can I add a couple of comments since I went first? And I've listened to the other 3.
Sure, go ahead, Ken.
I'll be brief. So past practices, water line breaks. I was at the same meeting Wendy was at when there was 8 or 9 water line breaks announced at $750 for each one. So it's obvious we're paying a flat rate. for a break. It's not an hourly rate. We used to pay an hourly rate. We used to get an invoice. I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm not saying it was necessarily even better than now. But what we had in the past was that people from the contract committee, which I've mentioned many times, there was 9 people on that committee, and the 5 board members had the freedom, which they still do if they want to. We don't have a contract committee, to go out, and when a contractor was out there working on the line, walk over to the hole, see what they're doing. I mean, I got 33 years in repairing water lines and all kinds of lines. So, you know, maybe keeping a closer eye and negotiating a better price on the purple pipe. I'm not going to make an announcement because there's not one to be made, but I've talked to 2 very influential people in the city of Vacaville, and it's a possibility. It's a possibility. The biggest cost, Bev, is crossing streets. So when you cross a street, you open a curb, you open a gutter, and you tear up asphalt, it gets really, the permits are expensive because the city has pipes in there, PG&E has, you know, it just gets really expensive. Mark has tried to do some stuff with wells. I guess it didn't pan out. But anyway, the purple pipe is something for us to really look into. On grants, I don't know much, but I know the Father's House had, We Love Our City, had a grant writer they hired for 2 years. And that was his job, was to write grants. So you need somebody that knows how to do those things. That's it. Thank you.
Those are all great points. And if I may add, a few years back in another life, I was involved as a lead for a sustainable development effort up in Portland, Oregon. And, you know, from my experience, everything was going to be water-free, either that or water reuse. And that's up in Oregon when there's plenty of rain. So that was, you know, about 8 years ago. So there are people that are out there that are willing to come forward, and they're looking for pilot projects. They have plans, they have ideas, they have programs that will work, and they're looking for basically property where they can apply those pilot projects. So that's another avenue to consider, is looking for some of these, whether they be university students, whether they be sustainable architects and developers. They are looking for locations to put up these pilot projects, to study them. So that would be another avenue when you're looking for community members' ideas to take. You know, just start with the study, start with looking at what your options are. We have a few minutes left here, so I would like to open it up to the candidates to see what other questions you'd like to touch on. You know, we had some questions about the bylaws. We had questions about pool usage with kids. You know, is this, when Diane mentioned that the majority do not want kids, I had some questions on that as to where those statistics came from, because that's a pretty big chunk of our population that would choose not to have kids in the pool. What would you like to comment on, candidates?
Paula, before we go to that, I have one quick comment to Ken. You were talking about the cost of crossing the streets and tearing up sidewalks, but they can use directional drilling, horizontal drilling, they can put in piping without breaking it up. They do have to go in through probably under the street and under the sidewalk, but they won't have to tear it up. So it was just, that was just one quick comment I wanted to add there.
If I may, if I may address the children at the pool. They did put out a survey, maybe a year ago. They did ask different questions about the fitness center, whether to have guests, and this was during COVID, and whether to have increase the pool hours for children, and a number of other things. I would have to dig out that survey. And so members who chose to respond did respond. Nothing's been changed. I mean, we can't have any guests at the pool. It's only residents, and we can't have any guests at the fitness center, so things are at a standstill. However, with allowing children at the pool, we have, there's a population of members that would like to have grandchildren come to the pool. I've spoken to them, and possibly could the children use just the cold pool. We have 2 huge pools there, and Diane has expressed a thought or a comment that, people don't like to be jumped on. They don't like the splashing that the children do. How about if most members use the warm pool? I know there are some that use the cool pool, but most use the warm pool. How about if those hours that the children can be there, if they just remain in the cold pool, and it's not that cold, and then that would eliminate the splashing of the other members. And another thing that I thought of was, our families are such a large part of our lives, and now many people have grandchildren, and it is hard for them to come and not be able to use the pool. They do see it. We take walks around, they see it. I live right across from the pools, and my younger grandchildren are here very, very infrequently because of where our children live. They live out of state. One is in the military. They visit very infrequently, so they're not here very often. But when they're here and it's so hot, it's usually in the summer, I would love to bring them over to the pool and let them enjoy the pool for a few hours and cool off. I mean, it's fun for kids to have fun things to do when they go visit their grandparents. It makes them want to go. Oh, we can go to the park, or we can go swim in the pool, or we can sit outside and have a picnic or something. I just remember from my youth and going to visit my grandparents that they weren't terribly active. I just would sit and talk to them and go outside and play in the rocks in their backyard. So if we could figure out a way to include the children, which brings such joy to the members, to have their children and grandchildren enjoy the community that they live in and use some of the facilities. I think that might, be a solution. Thank you.
Go ahead, Diane.
I just wanted to clarify that I didn't say the majority of the residents. I said the majority of the people that I spoke to in the pools. And I have to say, I agree with Kathy that, I can't imagine having a little grandkid looking across the street or even going on our walks and seeing those pools and not wanting to get in them. I think that I just wanted you to say that I have some empathy here, sympathy or whatever on those pools. It's not ideal, but I do think that, there's a compromise, there's a solution to this. And so I wanted to just clarify that. I didn't want to be misquoted there.
Thank you. I did misquote you, and I stand corrected. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Diane.
One last comment. My opinion on pool use, majority rules. If the community should vote on it, and how the community votes is how it should go. It's not a few that swim in the pool. It's not a few that don't have grandkids. It's not me and Karen when our grandson was 5 and we wanted him in there so bad. He's 14 now. I think we're a community that's one for all and all for one. So if it's an issue and it's a controversial item, it won't go away for sure. But if we have a vote of the community along with maybe an election or another vote, not something that would cost extra, then we should have a vote, and the decision of the people is the decision of the people. Thank you.
Very good. Ernie?
I agree, Ken, I agree with what you said with majority rules. However, there's one issue that comes up with this particular one, in that you might have a large majority that don't even use the pool that would vote one way or the other, and it wouldn't affect them. It would affect the people that use it. And that's the problem with the majority rules in this issue.
Let me just add on that, when you do rule changes, you have to send them out for member comment period before you change those rules. And so there's a 28-day comment period that there should be a form that goes up to the membership. And if they're interested in filling it out, they should fill it out, send it back. And then at the following meeting, the board can then adopt those rules. So you kind of get the input of people that are interested in that topic, and then you can make your decisions based on there. But I think that the goal of every board is to make sure that it's a fair and equitable rule to everybody. So I like Kathy's idea in just making sure that, everybody's kind of taken care of on that topic. I wanted to not continue talking about the pool, but Diane, you said something about should only one person be elected? How would that person maybe deal with the board and hopefully make some changes? I'm very hopeful. I think that myself, I think knowing a little bit about how things should be run, I think that I can be a positive influence as a board member. I think that we have a new manager, and I think that we should use that to our benefit in asking the manager, how do we normally do this? Ask the questions. Do we have rules to abide by as a board member? Somebody coming in as a fresh start, being able to ask those questions. And if the manager doesn't know, to ask, maybe we should ask legal. I think that we currently have a board, and this is only my opinion, that are like-minded. And I think that we need a little bit of change in there, a little bit of other opinions. And I think we should really rely on that manager to learn along with us and work with us. I would ask her, I don't think she doesn't have very many years doing this, and I don't either. So I'd have to say that, in asking those questions and working together, we could figure out how to better serve the members and how to be better board members. I think that there's education, but those are kind of some of the questions that I would ask if I was on the board, or some of these other board members. Ask those questions so we can learn as we go, and hopefully they'll change some of their ways as well. But I think relying on that new manager may be great. I think that she's a new body. I think that we can use that to our benefit and be better, come up with better processes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to open that up for any last quick comments from the community members. Give us some feedback. Did this kind of stimulate any additional questions or thoughts that you might have? I want to thank you for joining us today, but really, anything else? Let's open it up for a few minutes. Go ahead, Kathy.
So I'll jump into the prices and the fees that are going up, the assessments. Diane had brought that up as one of the topics of concern. That's a serious one. Nobody likes to see our assessments go up. And I've lived here 8 years, and they've gone up significantly in those 8 years. And it is hard when there are seniors that are on a fixed income. Lots of people have retired, and they do have the fixed income, and they don't have a big leeway to absorb those increases. And I have to say, I wish I had an answer for that. I don't know how we could continue to keep our fees stable instead of going up yearly, which they have since I've been here. I wish I had an answer to that. I've been thinking about it, and all I can think of is if we look at our budget and cut some costs in certain places, but we still need a reserve. We still need our reserve to be a healthy reserve. And I, like I said, I empathize with those people. I sympathize with those people. I don't know. I don't know an answer. Maybe somebody else, maybe one of the other candidates, my member candidates would have a thought on that. Thank you.
I have a comment on that. Well, number one, I think our current board, and I don't know if it is as a result of a previous board, but we've done a lot of spending. And I think that we need to get everybody together and agree on, they need to prioritize these expenditures. I mean, do we really need a new clubhouse or club room, or a new craft club room, or, you know, there's just a lot of things. And it's my understanding, even on the, I think it was Ken that was talking about the fitness center, you know, that instead of going out and spending $1.5 million over 2 years, you know, why didn't we finance it and pay it off over a period of time and not spend all of the reserve for it? And so I think with all of the expenditures, I think before they make a decision, they need to get input from the community, and we need to listen to them and find out if it's something that's really important to them, and then make a priority list. And these are the things that we'll be doing, but in an order that makes sense. So, I mean, that's the only comment I have. It's just, it just seems like there's been a lot of spending going on without getting a lot of input from the community. And I think that's just, it's wrong. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to, unfortunately, I have to close off at this time. We're right almost at the top of the hour. And I want to thank everybody again for joining us, taking the time, especially the community members who have submitted their questions, and taken the time to join us. Again, real quick, we have Thursday night, the Meet the Candidates night at the Town Hall at 6 o'clock. We hope to see everybody there, and that's a good opportunity to meet all 7 candidates together. The next event that we have, Leisure Town Live with the candidates, is the 19th, and that's going to be our first 4x4 event. So I encourage you to go to Leisure Town Live Facebook page or to the website leisuretownlife.com and sign up for that event. 4 candidates paired with 4 community members for 1 hour, 1 topic. And our first topic coming up on the 19th is substance and sustainability. So there's a lot to discuss under that in a very short period of time. So if you're interested in participating in any of these events as a community member, there's lots of ways to connect to any of us. You can connect with me directly through the website, leisuretownlife.com, fill out the form, it comes directly to me. You can connect with any of the candidates directly and say that you'd like to join one of the events or you have questions. They each have their own individual web pages on the Leisure Town Life site. You can connect via email, pj@vitanovamedia.com. That's everywhere. And then also through Facebook and Nextdoor. So we make it real easy for you to connect. And I want to thank you, the community members. You really are the best part of the community. And we're all here because of you, and we're all here as volunteers with a heck of a lot of passion to make Leisure Town a better place moving forward. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we appreciate you joining us. Good night.
Thank you, Paul.